Okay, we are live. This is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm attorney Vince Davis. And I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Miss Georgette True and Miss G. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. And of course, Mr. Darren Guay. Mr. Guay, how are you doing?
We're doing all right, Mr. Davis. We're doing really good, actually.
Just so you know, I'm in Los Angeles County. Miss G is in Los Angeles County. Mr. Guay is in Maine.
3,000 miles away.
Hey, you guys, I see we have a very special guest, Miss Sarah Ann. Sarah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm coming from Massachusetts, so I'm not too far
My
from Maine.
neighbor.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. You have a CPS involvement in Massachusetts?
I do, yeah, in the Taunton area.
Real
How
close.
far is that from Boston?
It's about 40 minutes. I lived in Boston for a while. I wish I was back in Boston. But
You know,
if you
I
know
have
good attorneys, then I will definitely take their info.
I have an acquaintance who's a lawyer that does CPS cases in Boston.
Can I hear his name?
His first, I was afraid you were going to ask me that because his name just slipped out of my mind. I think his first name was Kevin.
Kevin Seaver.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. He's the top dog. He actually called me. And I have a really good court appointed attorney. He suggested that I stick with him because it's free for right now. And he knows him personally. But if I do need to, go further with this, then I will reach back out to him. Kevin's awesome.
Great. Hey, Miss G, would you do me a favor? Could you make a note and call Kevin Seaver tomorrow and invite him to be a panelist?
Oh yeah, he's
on August the 5, our seminar.
Sure.
Okay. So tell me what's going on with you in Massachusetts.
So, I mean, this is probably there's nothing new under the sun, right? So there's nothing that you guys haven't ever heard before, but it's just outrageous to me. First, let me start by saying that I grew up in a family that social workers to me were superheroes. So I was not expecting this. My grandfather was a professor at Boston University School of Social Working. He won Social Working of the Year in 1975. And when they took my child, there's a picture of my grandpa in the pile of evidence, That's how they twisted that by saying I'm crazy. Basically, I've been sober for 3.5 years. From alcohol, I've never had a drug problem. I started drinking heavily after my mom committed suicide in 2014. And before that, I was a professional. I lived on Beacon Hill in Boston. I had my life together and I went through a temporary disability, which alcoholism is a disability. So my rights have been violated. And they've been used against me, my past history with alcoholism, to illegally remove my child. And I never even got a fair hearing. This happened after I reported abuse on my still husband. And he, and it was bad. And I'm not going to get into the details as protection of my daughter. But it was not just regular abuse. And it was, and I was able to get a restraining order, which I paid $400 with my divorce attorney to appear with me and to advocate for me in that situation. And he paid his attorney, and the judge granted us a 1-year restraining order. And we've been separated for 3.5 years because of our toxic relationship, drinking, and how he went to court before he went to the police before I did back then. His sister, they're all very connected in my town. He's not a police officer or anything, but they serve all the police officers their drinks. So, and have for the last 50 years. It's a very towny community. One of the social workers, so my husband's sister, it's all very, and I'm kind of all over the place with it, but my husband's sister is like best friends with a social worker that worked in that office. She's no longer there, but she's still connected. So, there was a connection there. They're all connected with people, judges, everyone, I got the restraining order, and the next day, the social worker called me. She came to my house. I let her right in that day, and she immediately was judgmental towards me. Now, I have a health condition and my skin is pretty good right now, but I've had open lesions for the last 2 years. I believe it's a COVID. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything. I really didn't even put 2 and 2 together until recently. I believe it's a COVID injury because after I got the vaccination, my skin just completely went awful. I lost all my hair. I got very sick. And when that happened, my husband took me to court. So this was back last year. So back in March of 2023, 2022, I went to the hospital. I got wrongfully sectioned because of my past history with alcoholism. My mom committed suicide at that hospital. She passed away. It was all in my medical records. So they sectioned me when I went to the hospital with a health condition that I had gotten prescribed medication from a doctor, and my whole left side of my body was numb when I took the medication. So I went to the hospital. I got sectioned. My husband, I had already scheduled an appointment. I had scheduled 4 sessions to get divorce counseling because my husband was spanking my not even 2-year-old child. Well, she was just turned 2 at that point. And he had other things that I felt like we needed to discuss before I signed off on divorce papers. So he used that opportunity, me going to the hospital, to take me to court. The judge ordered a DCF investigation because of the 4 lies that he made about me under the penalties of perjury that DCF could fact check by going in our past record from when they were in our life before. By the way, when they were in our life the first time, I was told by the social worker that's no longer at that department that I was the most incredible turnaround case he had ever seen. I remember those words because that was really important to me. I really worked hard. They gave me suggestions. I followed every single one of their suggestions. I still follow all of their suggestions. I'm still in the counseling. I'm still in recovery. I'm still sober. I have a psychiatrist. I do every single thing that they've ever asked me to do. And I help other women do the same thing. I'm a member at my church. It's a big, big part of me. I was saved before, I'm a huge Christian. It's what kind of drew me to people on the show, and I believe that all of these things are working together for good because, I've been waiting for my Rosa Parks moment since I was 7 years old. I've been waiting for a moment to stand up for people that can't stand up for themselves. And I have friends that are dead because of this. Because they went through this and they were not using drugs or alcohol, and their ex-boyfriend lied about them and they ended up using drugs and they died. And I have 2 friends that literally I have one friend that's dead and one friend that I'm not really friends with anymore because she's still getting high 10 years later. And, this ruined her life. And, and right after they took her son from her, a year later, her son's dad overdosed and her son found the dad dead. So I never even could imagine that this kind of just discrimination would go on to recovering mothers that are doing the right thing, that are in recovery, that are following their suggestions, that these social workers are just not even doing their job to fact check. I have paperwork that I have, facts that I've been doing all the right thing. I have notes from my doctors that I've been doing all the right thing. Yet those aren't enough. That's not enough for them. They ordered me a neuropsychiatric evaluation. There's a neuropsychology test. There's a psychiatric evaluation. There is not, there might be, but it's a thing that you have to wait. You have to be on a waiting list for 8 months. And I'm not interested in so you're going to take my child from me based on a potential mental health thing that might not even be in existence. And mind you, this was 4 months after the last CPS case was just overturned, reversed, signed off by the Commissioner of Massachusetts, because what they did to me was not in conformance to the Department of Children and Family Services in Massachusetts. So I was not expecting this. The last thing in the world I expected was for them to come take my child. So back to this, like what just happened. So I kind of just gave you a little runaround, and don't mind me. I'm dyslexic. So I kind of do everything in a big overview, and I kind of fill in the gaps, and it's hard to sometimes. So they use my ADHD, my dyslexia, and every other, like, my alcoholism, the domestic issues that happened back when I, first got sober. All of these things were what they used against me, which are all supposed to be covered by the ADA. I talked to the ombudsman, immediately called her the moment that they started discriminating against me, and she did absolutely nothing. We are on a first name basis. It's all a lie. It's all kick the can to the next person, kick it to the judge, kick it to this person. Oh, we can't order an alcohol screening. DCF, but if the judge has to. Oh no, if DCF thought that there was a problem, they would have done it. And so when this social worker came back a new one came into my life, because the last social worker was taken off of my case, so the last one was taken off my case. New investigator comes in. It would have been a new person anyways. So she comes in, immediately starts, discriminating against me, judging, profiling, because my skin at the time was not good at all. Like, I had lesions on my face, and stress will cause that. And also, like, the only thing that I've changed, honestly, is I haven't had peanut butter in 2 months, and like my skin has gotten better. So like, these are issues that I never should have to even answer, especially when they had an 11-month investigation into my skin, into my mental health, into my health, like into all of these things. It was all on her record. So when she started asking me about these things, when she's supposed to be asking about what was going on with my husband and my daughter, and, the awful stuff that my daughter told me that I could never unhear, she's 3.5. She's like, and she's like me too, because of my dyslexia, I have like I can remember everything. And I can tell that she's like that too. She remembers everything and she can repeat everything. So there's not, anything that gets past this little girl. And so she told me this stuff, and I reported it. And then the social worker immediately started profiling me. When I started to catch wind of that, I called the ombudsman. The next day she asked me, because she talked to me for an hour. My child was napping. Bella woke up. My child woke up. And she was like, kind of like just getting up from a nap, and she didn't like get a full interview with her. And really, it was just the end of the day, and she had already been there for an hour, and she wanted to go home, and she didn't want to wait around, or she just wanted me to come into the office because she was profiling against me. So I don't have a car. I don't drive, because I chose the last 3 years. I was supposed to go back to work when Bella turned 3, but my grandfather passed away right after I had my child, and he left me an inheritance, and I was choosing to stay at home with my child. It was a decision that I came to with my husband, and so I don't have a car because, I had to spend all this money that I had put aside for a vehicle to go get some, work done that I need to get done. Like, all these things have been put on hold because I've had to spend all my money on legal fees. So I don't have a car. Social worker asked me to come to Taunton, and I tell her I don't have a car. I'll do my best to try. I'm up all night because, my child just told me awful things. I have this awful nightmare going on. And, so she told me before, and they already know this about me because of the last time they were in my life, I have a texting problem, I guess. Like, if the one thing you take my child for me is I have a texting problem, I don't know how to stop sometimes. Like, I just like, and not just like, it could be a good thing, like, because I have ADHD, so I will not answer. I have 300 unread text messages right now. So when I reply to you, I'm going to like reply you a novel, and that's just how I am. So I gave her a little novel as to all the stuff, because she said on her way out the door, if there's anything you can think of, just text me, because they all have iPhones now. So I texted her, it was like 1, maybe 2 paragraphs. It wasn't bad. I read it to my counselor. She said that was very professional. It was good, and that didn't get delivered. So her phone wasn't on. So I figured, whatever, it woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I texted her and just said, I really don't think it's fair for you to ask me to come in tomorrow. I don't have a vehicle. I haven't been able to get to the bank because I wasn't expecting it. It was the week of the Patriots Day here in Massachusetts, which is only a Massachusetts holiday. So it's in the middle of April. So that was the week that I had to go to court to go. I wasn't expecting any of this. I wasn't expecting to have full custody of my child. I only get $138 child support, and I've been living off my grandfather's inheritance for the last 3.5 years. So I didn't have any cash. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a way to get to there. So I texted her and said that. I was like, and if you look at our records from the past, I've always opened my door for you guys on the day of. I let you come in for an hour and a half. You didn't want to stay. I don't think it's fair. I said, you can do a Zoom interview or you can come back to my house on Friday, but I'm not going into the office tomorrow, And so then she did a wellness check she called me at 8:00 in the morning. I answered the phone, but I was just getting up. I had to put the phone on mute to go to the bathroom real quick, it was that early for me because I was up all night because I was worried about my child, I think that that's a normal response to this kind of stuff that I'm going through right now. And so she calls me at 8:00 in the morning. I get myself together. I go, I call my friend. We go to McDonald's with my child. Get breakfast. I come back. I live right across the street from PlayStation. So there's always cops kind of in my area. There's nothing better to do. I live in a small town full of townies. We have a lot of road work going on, and we've had a couple of big murders, Hernandez that was in this town and stuff. But but other than that, it's very slow. So I live right across the street from the police department, and they were parked right outside of my window. So I just kind of waved, and then they kept coming to my door. I was like, unbelievable. This is embarrassing. I have neighbors that all have children. I don't need them to know this anything like this is going on. I'm trying to actually protect my husband, my husband's reputation at this point still. I don't want this kind of stuff to be anywhere near, my family. But yet it is. And this is the reality. And that's why I'm talking about it now, because I'm not going to allow them to put my child in danger, which is what's going on right now. So she has a wellness check at my house. That's when I called the ombudsman immediately the first time. It was this is unacceptable. I'm being profiled. What I didn't know, and I didn't find this out until after they took my child, was the first time that she came to my house, there was actually two calls that CPS or DCF in here got. They got the call from, the police officer. That was obviously the mandated report. And then they got another call from somebody in his camp that said that I was abusing my Adderall, my medication that I take for ADHD, which I've never abused. I've never had a problem with that. I've never had a problem with drugs. And if I didn't take my medication, then I would be in trouble for not taking my medication. So, it's kind of like a two-way street, right? But so there was that call. So I guess maybe that might be part of the reason why she was immediately profiling me. But it's illegal to not let both of the parents know that there was a report done. So here's my question. Did she let the other parent know that there was another report done, and she let him know that? Regardless, either way, that was illegal. So then a couple weeks later, so then I had to go to the CAC. The CAC had us do a meet and greet kind of first, because my child's so little and she wanted me to feel comfortable, and she already knew I was not comfortable with DCF. So I went in and I met with them. They were really nice. They made me feel like they were all team here for mom. They told me to my face that we could do this as long as we needed to until we got my child to speak. So then before I got to the CAC, my social worker calls me and says that she's gotten a second report on mom, and it did get screened in, and she had to come and do an investigation. So I asked her what the report is, and she said, someone from your church called and said that you were on drugs because you wear hoodies to church and you have scabs on your face. So you're doing coke, crack, or meth. So, I'm outraged. I'm like, now I think that somebody from my church is calling and saying this. And one of the things I said, I don't know if anyone, I said, I doubt it was anyone from my church because my husband has used my church against me twice already, you know? But if it was, then maybe they just saw that I'm anxious because I'm going through this and I haven't been able to eat because, every time I try to eat, I throw up and all my money is like, I don't have any money right now. So like, I'm only making sure I have food for my child and I'm like eating her muffins, and she used that, called my husband, told my husband that I wasn't feeding my child. He did a second wellness check when there was a restraining order on him. And then she, backtracked. It was like, oh, he twisted my words. Why would you tell him in the first place? That's tampering with, the whole investigation in the first place. Now North Iowa Police is looking at me instead of looking at him. And she said, well, legally, I have to tell both parents. So she told me now just legally she has to tell both parents. So back to, did she tell both parents the first time? And he just repeated whatever that first one was, which was from him anyways. Because nobody in my life even really knew that this was going on. So nobody would have called and said that, I was making this allegation up and, the only person that knew about this definitely didn't call, so it was like unbelievable that they would even think anyways. So, then after that, that was when we were supposed to go to the CAC and for the actual interview. So then I told her, like that day, I was like, I'm so upset now. My child is seeing me upset now because you guys just called and discriminated against me, told me someone from my church, which is against, now, you're messing with my right to assemble. You're messing with my right, everything, now I'm thinking people from my church are talking about me. It took a lot of work. I had long, beautiful hair. I had beautiful skin. It took a lot of emotional and spiritual work for me to accept my life on life's terms, to be able to go out in public and be who God created me to be, and not to worry about what people thought about me. And I knew that people might think I'm on drugs because of my skin. You know what I mean? But I didn't care because I had integrity. But it doesn't matter because CPS can just do whatever they want to take your child and use anything and twist it and just take your kid. My rights as a United States national born citizen are very important to me. And they've just been completely violated. She used text messages. So then the CAC canceled the investigation. They were like, well, now, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Then the social worker came over with a cop and on a recorded thing told me that it was above her pay grade to look into any of my medical records. I swear, I think she was literally looking for a bribe. I really do. She's told me at least 4 times that it was above her pay grade. Things that were not above her pay grade. I think she was inching for something. And I believe that might be what happened on the other end. I don't know. But I'll find out because I got people working on this too. And so she comes over and I tell them, well, if I was going to be doing drugs, why would I be doing it at church? This is ridiculous. And we both said to me, oh, you'd be surprised. A lot of people go and do drugs in the bathroom at church. I was like, unbelievable. I'm like, I've been sober for 3.5 years. This is ridiculous. I said, how would you feel? Mind you, my daughter is right there. They're calling, when I used to babysit all the time, if anybody had something wrong with their face and a little kid went up to that person and said, what's wrong with your face? Tell me right now, what's wrong with your medical records? You need to give me details as to why, oh, you're picking your skin. Oh, you're doing drugs. If any kid said that to an adult or to another person, you would say to them, that's not nice. That's not polite. Why do they think it's okay to say that in front of my child to her mother, who she knows that I'm not doing anything wrong because she's with me all the time? So even just that, I'm just like, I'm not okay with any of that. Before they even took my child, I was not okay with this because it made me feel so unsafe to even go out in public because anybody can just call and say things about my skin and I'm not in control of my skin. So what am I supposed to do? And I can't defend it because every fact that they have, it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, it's just like, I just felt so defeated already right there. And then I sent her a video after that, my child, I said, Bella, do you want to tell the social worker what happened? She said, why don't you show them on the doll like you did the police officer? Because she showed the police officer without even me. That wasn't even me. It's all on a recorded video, and that's how we got the restraining order. And it was things I hadn't even seen yet. So she shows me, and again, things I hadn't seen yet, shows me exactly what happened. I sent it to the social worker, and the woman from the CAC said that she would reach out to me about when we would schedule the next thing. Didn't hear from anybody for the next couple days. I did text message her after she left because on the way out, she said, oh, by the way, your husband said that the reason why you guys stopped doing marriage counseling after a year was because you were developing feelings for someone else, which wasn't true. Is because he wouldn't stop drinking. And I can't be with him if he's not drinking, because even if I'm sober, he's not sober and he's not safe. So then obviously that triggered my text messaging rampage. And I just proceeded to tell her that if her and the judge weren't so busy kicking the can back and forth, this wouldn't have happened to my child if they didn't ignore the black eye that she came home with after his girlfriend text messaged me at 1 o'clock in the morning and they hid it from me for 3 days, or maybe the handprint bruise that he admitted in text message, giving her, changing her diaper. Or maybe, the video of my child a year prior, that all these things just kept my case open. It didn't do anything to him. He has nothing on his record with DCF. So, there's a video of her telling me that she's scared of him. She put a bucket over her head, said that he was mean to her, that he hit her, all these things. I've known that he was abusing her for a long time. And this right here, my plan was to get back to work as soon as I could. And, because my credit's not very good because I haven't been working. So it's hard to move. So move to a different district. And then, in case anything happens to my child, put her in daycare. And then at least it'll be taken seriously in a different county. But I didn't have time to do that because what she told me, I couldn't ignore. There was nothing I could do about it. I was really, put in a corner. I had to. And before I even told them, I called a company, Rain, and it's a national hotline, and they told me that basically I had to tell them or they were going to report me for not telling them. So, I had nothing I could do because I was trying to make sure that it was not what I thought it was. And so they came over. I hadn't heard from them from when they came over the first time. Oh, so I took the video of my child doing what she said happened to her. And that was used against me to say that I was coaching her. And a week later, a week before Mother's Day, they came and took my child. She was napping. I was outside cleaning, all her nice toys. I have a nice apartment that I've been paying for with my grandfather Terrence for the last 3.5 years. She lives in a dream home. It's it's perfect. And she's such a beautiful, good little girl. She's so kind. She gets all of that from me, and it's not, not just from the overflow of what God has done in my life. That's what she receives. And so it's so heartbreaking. And if this was just me and her, I would just be like, okay, God's going to work this out. We're going to figure it out. But right now she's in danger because what they did was before there was no investigation with the North Attleboro Police Department. They didn't even talk to me or my husband. And by the way, 2 months prior, he sent me a picture of her private parts when I asked him about a bruise on her face. That was ignored. DCF, my counselor, had done a mandated report. They didn't even notify her that it wasn't screened in. And the judge was notified about that, and she didn't take that into consideration either. So I really, at this point, I wasn't expecting to get a restraining order. I got one. I paid $400 for it. And then there was no investigation done. DCF showed up with my husband to get the restraining order removed before there was even a CAC investigation. She was removed from me, immediately put with his sister, who has 2 children. So I would have said better than, foster care. But the thing is that his sister was the same person that back when we were still married, when I had a 4-month-old, saw me on Thanksgiving 2 months prior with a black eye, and then went and got a restraining order for me. So she's not going to do anything to protect her brother. I mean, to protect me, she's protecting her brother. So my child is with Auntie for a week, and then Auntie takes her to the CAC, and my child would not speak. So they shut down the investigation. They used that to take that to the judge, and that got us the restraining order. I had to show up for that. And the judge removed the restraining order, and DCF placed her back with her dad. Finally, we got to go before that happened, we got to go to our continued 72-hour hearing a month later. And they only had time to have my husband speak for an hour, and they hardly questioned about what was currently going on. All they cared about was what happened 3 years ago when we were together, and they only cared about what I was doing. And, but they did get, he did admit that he did nothing to help me with my alcoholism. Mind you, I also had just lost my grandfather 15 days after having my child, and was so postpartum depressed. So all of that stuff is not something I should be reliving 3 years later. I mean, I said to the social worker, we went through an entire pandemic. I'm not the same person. America's not the same person. Like, let's talk about what was just happening to my child. Like, I can't even believe that. So that's what they focused on for that hearing. I never got to speak. I never got to do any 72-hour hearing because when we went back finally, after my child was already with him, they made us wait for 4 hours. And at that point, my skin was still really bad. I had a big lesion on my, right on my thyroid for a long time. And it was like gushing blood. And I had to go home. And I thought because they gave him an hour to testify about what happened 3.5 years ago, they were going to give me more than 15 minutes before lunch recess. But as soon as I left, they called us, and my attorney was able to, at least not have them place her with him. So right now she's still in DCF custody, but with him, even though the judge ordered that was not acceptable and that they needed to do an investigation and do their job because the allegations were too serious. So they've refused to do anything. I've been on the phone with the area director. Right now, I am refusing to see my child in the, so I was seeing her at the DCF office until I found out until she was placed with her dad because of this, because my child remembers everything. She remembers telling me what happened, and I'm not going to show my child that telling me the truth was the wrong thing, and I refuse. So I am standing to this, and I don't care if it's, not what legal advice would say, because they have all the medical records and I've done everything right. And they did give me a speedy fair hearing. I'm kind of assuming that they're going to do everything they can to squash it if they can. But I have that next month. So, and I'm refusing to shut up. I harassed the social worker, and I don't care, because until my child is safe, it is more dangerous for me to shut up than it is for me to be quiet and to follow their recommendations. Because I did that before when I reported all the abuse last year, and they kept retaliating by keeping the case open. And then my child reported what she reported. And at this point, I can handle, I don't know who said it on the show the other day, but I think it was, I don't believe in karma, I believe in God. But I liked this quote. It was that karma, if you mess with a mom will let karma deal with you. But if you mess with a child, the mom becomes karma, and I'm just, you guys, just these people that have violated my rights, just knowing how easily they're doing it to me, and knowing all the other women that they do this to. And I also have a conviction that I'm probably one of the only people, not one of the only, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm all this righteous. Like, I still have my things, right? But like, I've been celibate for quite a while now. I don't drink alcohol. I'm not doing drugs. I don't lie. If I'm not going to go and, go and sleep around, or just even find a boyfriend to take care of my problems, why would I, lie? That's like a detestable sin to God. You know what I mean? So like, it's just for me.
No, that means time out.
Okay. Sorry.
I gotta slow you down there. Your roll is a little bit too fast for me. Sarah,
Yes.
do you have a private attorney?
I have a lot of attorneys right now. Yeah and no. I don't. So I need to get an attorney to sue the state for a section.
No. Do you have a private attorney that's working with you to get your child back? Yes or no?
No, I do not. Nope.
Do you have a public appointed attorney?
I do.
helping? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So have you had a chance, is it a him or a her?
Him.
Have you had a chance to sit down with him and discuss your case and come up with some type of plan, a strategy?
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm not going on the court's timeline because they
Okay,
keep on.
hold on. Because that proves something to me that you said something similar. Now, I say this a lot. And do you want to be right or do you want to win your child back? Which one do you want? Because you can't have both.
Honestly, at this point, I want to be right. Because
Okay.
if I can't live my life in fear that my skin could take my child
Okay.
away from me. I can't do
Just
it.
know that you're not going to get your child back. Just know that, okay?
Yeah.
That's the price. That's the price for when you want to be right. Unfortunately, and I'm not saying this is the way it should be. I don't think it should be this way, but this is the way it is. You can't be right and you can't get your child
Well,
back.
then I have a message for Mr. Rucker.
Okay, I don't know, Mr. Rucker.
My message for Mr. Rucker. That's
Who's Mr. Rucker?
the area director at Taunton DCF.
Okay, so we won't be using any names, okay?
Well, my child is in danger, and I'm not going to be quiet about it.
That I don't doubt, but I think the strategy you're using is not a winning strategy. That's just me. I haven't reviewed your file or anything. What I think you should do is you should sit down with your attorney and come up with a strategy. Because right now, I don't know where I know where I heard this term. I heard this term when I was in accounting. And sometimes, I was on the audit staff for a while, and you're going through tasks and you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to do it. It's called flailing. Okay. Right now I get the impression that you're flailing. Okay. And have you ever seen going into a pet store and they have those glass cages with the hamster inside, and there's that little wheel in there, and that hamster's on that wheel running 100 miles an hour and not going any place.
Oh, I'm going places. Like, this is not, what, at this point, really, I've done everything by the books, and it shut down. And when you're dealing with a narcissist, you have to know your game. You have to know who you're playing with. And I'm not just playing with one.
How long have you been without your child?
Since before Mother's Day. I'm getting my child back. She's coming home to mama. At this point, it's the judges can, if these people aren't held accountable, if there's not somebody to say that this is not okay, if there's not somebody that is keeping them accountable, then it's not worth it to me. It's not, because I can't be looking over my shoulder all the time and having them do this to me over and over again. I'm here for the long haul. They're not going to forget my name again. They're not going to forget my case. They're not going to forget who I am. That's just where I'm at in this journey. I've gone public with my Facebook, and I sent the whole story over to Mr. Rucker. They did a wellness check on me because I said that my mother committed suicide. So they said that I was suicidal. I'm not okay with them calling the police every day on me and having police come to my house. Like, this is the kind of stuff that my rights are really, I have 3 things that are really important to me: Jesus Christ, my daughter, and my rights as an American citizen. And I'm not going to cave on any of
them. In that order then, because you just said that your rights are more important than you.
But I can't, but they're going to keep taking my child.
Get your kid back first. Do the right thing.
What was that?
New England women are wicked hard to figure out. They're wicked hard to deal with. Let me believe you in this when I tell you this.
Hey, Darren, your high-speed internet was lagging there.
Yeah, my high-speed internet lag right there.
Yeah.
So go get your kid back first. You need to do the right thing. You just said your list. You said Jesus, your kid, and your rights. Do it in that
But they're
order.
going to keep taking my child because they've done it to me. Like, it's, what's the, like, I haven't done anything wrong. Like, I didn't do anything for them to take my child other than to tell them that it's not okay that my child was abused in the fashion that she was abused, and that they never did a alcohol screening on my husband.
75% of us on this show have done nothing wrong to have our children messed with. But believe in me, that it doesn't work the other way. When you fight them, they push back at you harder. So get your kid, be safe, and then fight against them in the courts. Get the money from them. Do whatever you got to do. But you're not. Mr. Davis is absolutely right. Look, I did a podcast. You know what they did when I did a podcast? They shoved me so far away from my kid that I haven't seen her in 2 years. All because I thought, oh, I'm going to fight this system. I'm bigger than. Who are you? You're nobody. They're $1 billion industry. Do the right thing. Fight them. Get your kid back. Do what they say. And then go fight them in the
I'm
court.
already doing what they said, though.
Okay, I'm your neighbor up here. I'm begging you because this man's right. I know firsthand that you don't win if you fight back from the gates. Like, all they do is they push your face in the mud, they spit on you, they laugh at you, pee in you, and then off you go. You got no kid, you got no life, you got no nothing.
Even if I don't have my child for 2 years, that
I didn't do anything either.
She's God's
They were
child.
wrong, 100,000%. They did all kinds of illegal searches, seizures, all this stuff. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. Get your
But the
kid
thing is right now, this is what you guys don't understand. If I stay quiet about this, my child is with the person that she's with, and nobody's looking at him. But if I speak up, my child is safe.
How often do you watch this show?
Pretty much all the time.
Right.
But I mean, it's been a pretty short.
Miss G says all the time. What? First thing is, where do the kids go?
With the abuser.
There you go. So you already know this one, right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing?
But I didn't start watching until after they took my kid.
Right. Well, this is the thing. See, all of these people are saying this because they know that these are the facts. Like,
no, I know. I'm aware she's going to stay with her abuse. I'm aware of all that. But right now, what you're not understanding is that everyone is looking at him. And that's more important to me, that all eyes are on him, because if she's going to be there, at least people are looking at him. Because right now, if I don't say this, like there needs,
Hey,
like
Sarah?
the people that go into his.
Hold on. Hey, Sarah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know we really didn't get a chance to get in your story. I'm going to have my producer call you back, but we're moving towards the end of the show. I do want to thank you for coming on this evening and sharing your story and telling
Thank you for having me on.
What's going on there in Massachusetts. But I do wish you luck and all the best, and I hope everything works out for you and your child.
Can I just say something before she ends? You end the show real quick.
No, because I'm really on a tight schedule. I'm sorry. Really on a tight schedule. But I'm inviting her back so Grace can bring her back. All right, Sarah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
I'm sorry, Miss G, but I am really on a tight schedule this evening. Before we go and end the show, anything? I started doing something new, and Grace is going to keep them track of them. Every show, I'm going to give a rule and a tip. Okay, for people that are watching. So tonight's rule was rule number 1: never talk to a social worker without your lawyer being present. And tip number 1 is understand the burden of proof and who carries the burden of proof at the hearing you're attending. Okay. Before we go, Ms. G, any comments you wanted to make?
I was going to tell her that I'm Christian too, but God told us to be as innocent as doves and as wise as serpents. Meaning, you have to be wiser than that when you're dealing with demonic people. You can't be vocal and expect a different results.
Right.
That's just my opinion. That's all. I mean, we all learn from our mistakes, and that doesn't work.
Darren, did you have anything, closing comments for tonight's show?
What I was saying when my high-tech internet went out, I was just saying that New England women are wicked hard-headed, like they don't get it sometimes. I'll tell you from experience. So good luck to that lady. You know, just good luck, because if she can't realize that her kid,
Did you just say women? And from your experience, aren't you the one that did the
okay,
social
you
media?
know, yeah, you know why I don't.
What is
You
up
know
with
why I
that?
don't argue. Let me tell you something. There's a reason why I don't argue with Mary. Number one is because I respect her very much. Number two, I'm not going to win an argument with her, so I'm going to count my losses, count my blessings, and just move on, because it doesn't matter. That woman's right. She's right. Period. End of story. That's
But
just the
didn't
way
she
it is.
tell you not
So I
to do
move
the
on.
social media and and talk shit about CPS and on social media? Didn't
No,
Mary
you know
tell you
what?
that?
She always supported me. She always supported me. She always supported me. Now, did she talk under her breath? Sure, she did. But you know what? I'm the man, and I'm supposed to lead and protect and try to get my family back. So, you know, I followed those rules.
All righty.
I lost, so it is what it is.
All right. So we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Thank you both for being on the show. Good night, all.